Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com. The theme of our show today is TikTok. That's right. TikTok. The clock is ticking on your life. 844-551-8255. If you want to discuss your life or anything else. See, this isn't about politics that we talk about every day on this show. This is life. I heard a radio executive say to me one time, Kevin, how do you do your show? I said, what do you mean? He's like, what do you do? How do you get topics and all that? I go, the topics are there. I said, all I do is think about my life. When I wake up in the morning, what am I faced with? What happens during the day when I go shopping, when I go to get gasoline in my car, when I run into somebody, when somebody interacts with me in some form of social media, or when I'm out and about? What happens when I pick up my kid, his homework, my older sons, when they're dealing with their issues, and one of them, now is dealing with he's got a fiance and he's about to get married, and all the issues with that, and what are they going to face? This is about life. And the problem is, folks, politics is now so intrusive into your life that there's no way to get away from it. I mean, we just came out of the Thanksgiving holiday, and we'll be talking about that in a second. And we're about to go into the holidays of Christmas and Hanukkah and a host of other things. And let me tell you something. If you think you're going to be devoid of politics, good luck. What was the biggest subject? One of the biggest things that was being discussed prior to Thanksgiving. Will people be talking politics during Thanksgiving? How could you not? Remember when Thanksgiving was getting together with family? You'd sit down, you'd all watch the 2 football games, maybe playing your own version of the Turkey Bowl. You talked about, old times and who didn't make it this year and so on and so forth. And now, what are you dealing with? You got people saying the Pilgrims were racist and they, offended the Indians. And, the turkey is a racist bird. And the NFL, are they going to take a knee or are they not? And then they deal with all the starving people and all these other things. Here's what I love about Thanksgiving while we're on the subject. I love that it is the only unique, not the only, but it is one of the only unique holidays that is specifically to America. My adopted French kids called us up and said things like, we so appreciate Thanksgiving because it reminds us of America. They understand the story, the significance of it. We don't understand the significance. People say, you encroached on the indigenous people. You kill the Indians. And they tell us all these bad things. Let me tell you something. I didn't do any of that. Oh, my ancestors did? Okay, fine. They did, and we live in the greatest country in the world, because let me tell you what it wasn't. When it was inhabited by my ancestors and probably some of yours, it was not a great country. I hail from Africa. I know this. It's no secret. I am a black man. But let me tell you something. There's nothing about that continent. There's no country on that continent that makes me want to have a piece of it. You could say to me, well, Kevin, you have a rightful place in Africa. Well, okay, great. I don't want it. I concede it to whoever is over there. Other family members, you can have it. If you want to go, just give me what you have and I'll take yours from here. And then you can go have whatever we're supposed to get in Africa. Good luck. Awabunga, dude, right? I want nothing of it. I have Native American blood inside of me. By the way, I am Native American. I was born here, and that's where I hail from, America. I know nothing about anywhere else. I'm as Native American as you get. And I happen to have a little bit of Indian blood. I'm not talking dot, I'm talking feather. So I'm Native American. I have no qualms with what America has become. TikTok, folks. Time's ticking on your life. What are you going to do with the rest of your life from this moment on? Beginning now. Okay, now, when do you want to start? You going to stand and fight? Or are you going to cede your life to the idiots? See, there are idiots out there. They're willing to take your life. They're willing to enslave you. They've been doing it. If they haven't done it to you, they're trying to do it to your kids. They want slaves. They want mental conformist. Let me ask you this. You going to be able to enjoy your life if you live it as a coward? People say to me, one guy writes to me, Kevin, you talk about fighting too much. Screw you. It is a fight. Everything we do is a fight. When you get up in the morning to the moment you go to sleep, you are in a fight. If you don't realize that, then you're a chump. I just happen to be trained to fight, mentally and physically. And if it's too much for you, the listener, who believes that I talk about fighting too much, then find somewhere else to go. I'm not training pansies. I'm training warriors. Go. Be gone. Somebody kick him in the butt before he leaves. I don't care what you think about what I say. You talk about karate and martial arts. I talk about what is applicable in my life, right? Because when I go out there on Black Friday, which I did, to go shopping or whatever, I don't know who I'm going to run into. I don't know what fool wants to try me. But I do know this. All I got to do is get on my computer and there'll be 50 of them on some form of social media talking about, I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to do this, you're an idiot, why are you saying this, blah, blah, blah. I say what I want to say because I'm no coward and I speak my mind. I spoke it during Thanksgiving. I'll talk about that. I didn't have to fight with anybody because everybody was, on my side during Thanksgiving. Tick tock, folks. The clock is ticking on your life. When are you going to admit that you voted for Donald Trump? When are you going to stop, pussyfooting, as my grandmother would say, around on the subject? When are you going to talk about what you did and be proud of what you did? You changed the course of this nation for the better. But you're still scared. When will you get in the face of those who criticize your very sane point of view and stop ceding your opinion to morons? I'm just curious. Just putting it out there. Some people are like, Kevin, you preach, brother, preach. I start to sound like Farrakhan. Don't make me. I'll go there. The devil. The leftist devil. He will not only take you, he'll try to get your kids, your children. Yeah, I don't care what face the leftist devil is. I don't care what color. I don't care what gender. I don't care what sexual orientation. I don't care what religion. The leftists are the devils, and they want to have you think as they do. They get mad at you for being sane, for being moral, for being ethical, for having a core, for loving God, things like that. Tick tock, people. The clock is ticking. David Cassidy's last words were, I wish I hadn't wasted so much time. What will yours be? Short break.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving after the fact. I'm glad you're here. I hope you had a good Black Friday. It's Cyber Monday. I've made a prediction that the Black Friday sales were through the roof. I'm going to make a further prediction. It'll be the biggest Cyber Monday in a decade. And then I'm going to make a final, well, it won't be my final, but it'll be my third prediction of the day on this topic. And that is that the Christmas and shopping season, the holiday season, will be the most brisk we've had in a decade. Those are my predictions. Anyway, the theme of the show is TikTok. And one of my friends asked me, Kevin, how do you balance it all? And I was like, you know what? Good question. So the first thing we do here at the Black Sphere team, the Kevin Jackson Radio Show, is we thread things that we do. In other words, we find a topic, and that's a topic I'll probably pitch to talk about on Fox, or I already know they're going to talk about it, so I'll just give my take on it. I do that for other radio shows. We write about it. We create memes about it, etc. We take it's like, eating a pig from the rooter to the tutor, the way the slaves did. Nothing goes to waste. We have pig feet and we have snouts. You eat pig ear. You know what I'm saying? Pork rinds, the skin. Nothing goes to waste, including the chitlins. That's the guts of a pig. I know, may be disgusting to you, but it isn't when you're starving to death. So that's the way that's how we do things. That's how we can keep things moving, because I couldn't otherwise. And we rely on a lot of people that want to help out. So if you do want to be a part of this, please contact us. KJRadio.com. Tell us what skill set you have. We need it. You know what I really need? I need an operations manager. I need somebody that can look at what we do, take it to the next level. I also need somebody that's really good at merchandising. If you're a great merchandiser, I would love to have you on our team, because people love our brand. We just don't know how to take it to the next level. I'm just being honest with you, because, there's a lot of people out there that know our work, and we struggle all the time to keep them engaged because we don't know how to get to them. Now we're changing some of that. We have some people that have been brought on to do certain things, but it wouldn't hurt us to have some folks in the background. You have good ideas. You got good stories. People send me stuff all the time. Kevin, here's a link to something I know about, and it's people aren't aware of this story. Okay, great. Send it over. We will take a look at it. TikTok. See, time's ticking away. We get up in the morning. If you don't think that I want to do exactly the same thing everybody else wants to do, go out, spend time with family, friends, vacation, etc., you'd be crazy. Problem is, if I did that and I came back, I'd have no brand. I'd have to practically be starting over to some degree. So what I have to do is I have to infuse work with play. You know what I'm saying? Like, having my little boy up at the the Gold Gloves, things like that. That's the type of thing you have to do. If you're going to take a little mini vacation, that's how you do it. There's no way to not do things without incorporating it into work. And as I said at the beginning of the broadcast, there is no separation of politics from your life. That's just the nature of it. Now, you don't have to respond to it like I do. I don't have to go to the grocery store, see prices go up during the time of Obama and go, dang, when did they have lettuce become $14? Because when I see stuff like that, I got to write about it. If you see something, say something. So that's how you balance it all. Anyway, I want to get to this. How are you guys Thanksgiving? I'm going to ask the audience in a second. How are you guys? You have a good Thanksgiving? I know that we talked on Thanksgiving because I wished everybody happy Thanksgiving. I physically called all of you guys. So I know we're having a good time, but it ended up great. Good. All right. Well, I like that. Did you not discuss politics? Did you? You did? Yeah, we'll talk about it. I'm just I'm curious because when people tell me, oh, you can't discuss politics, I'm like, I'll discuss whatever I want. Don't tell me what I can't do. That's a license to me. You can't do that. I certainly can. I can do whatever I want. As long as it doesn't hurt you. So what you're trying to tell me is, well, discussing politics would hurt me. Well, if you're a leftist, my discussing politics is going to hurt. It's going to smart a bit. Yeah, that's going to leave a rash. It's going to leave a mark, not a rash. It's kind of Don't be looking at me like I'm crazy. I meant to say I was going to leave a mark. Anyway, I talk politics, but I was around conservatives, and we gloated, folks, like there was no tomorrow. Like Prince's partied like it's 1999. We gloated like it was the end of the world, and we know it. Yeah. Let me put it to you this way. If you did what I did, the left didn't eat turkey this Thanksgiving. They ate crow. And you should have served a heap and helping of it because you have all the ammo. I hope you served them some crow. I hope you had a big old turkey. And then you had this little bitty bird over there. And they looked at it and went, well, I see the turkey, Bill. What's that little bird? Oh, that's for you, Edna. That's crow. You know? Surely, if you had some leftists that came to your Thanksgiving turkey, I hope you took a Cornish hen and fooled somebody. You know, a couple little ones. Yeah, they're like, well, what's that for over there, Chuck? Well, Ted, now that you bring it up, honestly, it's for you. It's crow. Because they needed to eat some crow. Man, we come on. We rocked it. Look, I don't need to recap all the crybaby stuff on election night. I mean, that's just rubbing it in right there. I'm talking about results. Donald Trump Jr. tweeted something like $5.5 trillion of stock market increase. I don't know what the values are in homes, but when Barack Obama came into office, the value of homes had dropped $6 trillion of value had fallen out of the home market. You know, the what people had saved up in their homes in equity. $6 trillion. Now, you could say, oh, the stock market recovered. No, it didn't. He put $1 trillion a year into the stock market and propped it up. Trump's not doing that. It's not. I'm not telling you the stock market's legit per se, because it still has a lot of that fake Obama money, but it's being backfilled with productivity. So get in that market, man. You can also get some gold. That's what I did. But all I'm getting at is we have a lot to talk about with respect to what's going on in this economy. Forget about North Korea, and we'll talk about a story that came out of there, and I'm sure you guys heard about the guy escaping, and we'll talk about all the other foreign policy implications of Donald Trump's foreign policy plan. But let me tell you, look at this domestic policy. I just explained to you, this is going to be the best shopping season, and that's the way you judge how people feel. Are they confident enough to spend money? And see, what that means is the economy is starting, the engine is starting to rev up. Because see, you want people spending money to keep the engine moving, but you don't want to force them. You don't want it on food and clothes, healthcare and all that. You want them buying expendable items, things that they're going to repurchase at some point in the future because that engine is going, and they feel confident enough to say, yeah, I can drop another, a couple grand this Christmas that normally I'd save. That's what the left have they aren't planning on that. Watch the coffers of governments, city governments, local governments, from sales tax and on and on. Watch it this holiday season, folks. It's going to surprise you.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. The clock is ticking on you. It's ticking on you in so many ways. Obviously, we are all going to meet our maker. And many of us, we focus on things like, and words like legacy. Your legacy, it is what it is. And I hate to break your bubble here, but you're not going to be remembered that long. Your kids will remember you. Your grandkids will remember you. Maybe your great-grandkids will remember you. But that's about it. So you got about a 50 to 100 year span of people remembering you. I don't remember anybody beyond my great-grandfather. Now, we're running Ancestry, and it's going to make me a little more curious, but the overwhelming majority of your family members don't know who so-and-so was, and they won't care. Now, what's going to change that a little bit for us, our generation, is the amount of memory we have. Memory meaning data. So, I can memorialize my life longer because my son, all my sons now will have digital footprints of dad. And they can say, well, this was your dad. And it won't be like those old pictures where that was a reverse image of Billy the Kid. That's why people thought he was a left-hander, but it was a right-hander, No, they all know. Because there's video of me, there's lots of pictures of me, so you don't have to guess what did great-great-great-great-grandpa Kevin look like, That's me. And they'll watch me arguing with liberals, and they'll read my books, and there's enough of a documentary, there's enough documentation for me to live on a little longer than normal, and you too. You don't have to have a book. You don't have to appear on Fox or any other place. People will know who you are. Because now we have a bigger digital footprint. Now, will they care is a whole other thing. But you'll have little memory things and go, then this is, your great grandpa's, instead of an urn, you'll keep their little, what do they call it? These cards you stick in your USB port, a little memory device. That'll be your life. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. I remember my great grandfather, we put him on VHS tapes. Then we converted those to CDs or DVDs, and that's his archive right now. And don't be surprised, my older brother keeps all this stuff. If he's now got that moved over to a little memory card, so that's the way we can remember each other. Now, my great grandfather, we first recorded him on 8mm camera, and then that got transferred to VHS. Yada yada yada. But now we can remember more. But even with that, so you may get another generation or two, or somebody goes, hey, you want to see your great-great-great-great-grandpa? Here he is. And you won't look like those old videos where, it's moving and it's choppy and, you're throwing and you can barely see him, and the shadows make white guys look like Miles Davis. It won't be that. They will see you clear as day, know exactly who you are, what you stood for. And you're going to actually look like it looks. There will be no difference in how it looks. I mean, when I used to look at the old recordings that my grandfather would take, even stuff when we went on vacation, it would look like, wow, that looks really old. My kids would look at that and go, what the heck is that stuff? But it's no longer that antiquated. I mean, not today. By today's standards, there's not going to be a big gap between what we have now and what they have. Maybe everything will move to moving pictures and video, or, stuff like that. But that's what it's going to be, So let me just go back to legacy. My point is, I'm not worried about it. I'm worried about, what happens to the next generation of kids and instilling in them the idea that they have to do something to preserve their 2 or 3 generations beyond them, and so on and so forth. And of course, there comes a point where it doesn't matter. We're going to die. We know this, and go spend some time, have fun in your life, and after you fought the good fight, and that'll be it. But I do want to ask this question of you, and that is: are you better off under Donald Trump in the year plus that roughly a year that he's been in office, or are you better off in any year of Obama? I can tell you unequivocally, I am better off in the 1 year of Donald Trump than I was better off in any year you pick for Barack Obama. And I'm not trying to be mean to Barack Obama. It's just the truth. Now, if you want to be one of the people to say, well, he did inherit a mess from Bush, fine. So he had 4 years that we'll give him credit for that. Then he supposedly turned everything around. In the last 4 years, did you improve, or yes or no? I tweeted this about Trump. I said, when is the Nobel Committee going to give Trump his prize? Remember, Barack Obama was given a Nobel Peace Prize within weeks of taking office. It was so embarrassing to him. He was like, oh, geez, how would I get this? Remember your thoughts when he got it? My thoughts were this: you just diminished your award, an award that I used to hold in esteem. You just diminished it in a second. How could you give that award to Barack Obama? He was in the midst of 3 wars and had done nothing. He'd merely won the presidency, and that was enough. Black man gets a president. Okay, well, let's give him something. If that's all it takes, look, that's a low bar for black folks. That's insulting. If I'm going to win the Nobel Peace Prize, I want to win it. I don't want any affirmative action grade. I want to win it. I want people to go, Kevin Jackson won that award, and it was worth it. That's why I told you guys, I've become so what's the word I'm looking for? Anti-award, because they're watered down. They're a bunch of people who fight to get recognition among themselves. And it shouldn't be that way. If somebody recognizes you legitimately, you are one of the best in your craft. I think, and I'm going to put it out there, I think that my team we collectively are one of the best, we call them thought leaders. We're one of the best thought leadership groups in the country. I'd put our work up against anybody. And, do people come up with some more clever things than we do? Absolutely. But as a whole, our dedication to being thought leaders is second to none. And if somebody wants to recognize that, great. If they don't, it's okay. I don't need the trophy. I don't need an award show. Just, okay, I'm cool. Anyway, the reason why I'm bringing all this up is Time is going to be choosing their person of the year. And one of my friends tweeted this. If Time magazine can find another man that's created 1+ million jobs, 2 trillion in the stock market, that's actually 5.5 trillion, and defeated ISIS in just 9 months, they should name him man of the year. So I don't know what they're looking for. And by the way, it isn't man of the year. If they were going to name a man of the year, then why not consider Hillary, right? Yeah, you were paying attention. See, I don't know how to wake y'all up. I saw you snicker. Yeah. So did the audience. There were people in the audience that snickered too. Don't feel bad. Feel good. No, look, person of the year, Donald Trump. Hands down. Hands down. Nobody thought he would win the election. They all thought he was going to be some hothead to get us into wars. He isn't. They thought he knew nothing about foreign policy. He's been a rock star. They thought he knew nothing about domestic policy. He's been a rock star. If you want to criticize him, if you're just looking for something, talk about his tweeting. Fine. I'm with Donald Trump and the strategy of why he tweets 100%. He's caught up in minutia. Nothing Donald Trump tweets about is minutia. Nothing. He tweeted about that black dude whose son, fucking. Yeah, he did. He did. He tweeted about an ingrate who he got 3 kids, black kids, freed from China, and the leftist media was going to make no big deal about it. The only way for them to pick up the story is for him to tweet about it, about the father who was an ingrate, who should be happy that the president got his son out, and he's out there talking about he didn't do anything for me. Because do you know what it did? It highlighted Barack Obama's inability to free other people. It showcased leftism at its finest, that it cannot appreciate anything no matter what, even when it involves your children. Their children, they don't care. And there are so many other things it highlighted. It highlighted these entitled young black kids who go over to a foreign land to represent America and showcase leftism at its finest. And the father helped. And you know what the left did? Donald Trump shouldn't have been tweeting about that. He's so mean. He's going after that man. No, he isn't. He's going after protecting America, saying, look, I just did my job. And you don't want to even recognize that I did my job? Don't worry about it. I got the news cycle. Don't worry, CNN, MSNBC, anybody else. I'll give you something to talk. Let's give them something to talk about. I love when he does this stuff. There's no frivolous tweets with Trump. It all has a meaning. And just because you don't get it, don't think it doesn't have a meaning. The man's pretty smart. In fact, he's very smart.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here on Thanksgiving Day. While we were stuffing ourselves with turkey and carbs, there were other stories happening. Most of us, we were surrounded by family. Some of us watched idiots protest the national anthem before poorly attended football games. Others watched the protesters at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Whatever you did, I'm willing to bet that your day was less eventful than that of a North Korean soldier who made the mad dash to freedom. And what looked like a scene from The Bourne Identity or one of those Jason Bourne Hollywood spy thrillers, a young North Korean soldier changed his life forever. And CNN reported it like this as this Korean soldier sprinted to the DMZ. Dramatic video showing a North Korean soldier fleeing across the border into South Korea while being shot at by his former comrades was released by the United States Command Wednesday. United Nations, I mean. The video released marks the first time an American-led UN command has disclosed security footage of a defection across the heavily fortified, demilitarized zone, the DMZ, that divides North and South Korea. The New York Times narrated a video of it as it happened, and I got to tell you, I didn't see the whole thing. I only saw the ending. You have to see this guy. He's driving up to a checkpoint, what should be a checkpoint, in a Jeep, and he just blasts through, and he's cruising along the way, and his Jeep gets stuck in the mud or whatever, something, and then he jumps out, and I mean, this guy sprints. He is moving. It looks like a Korean version of Usain Bolt. You just see a blur. Shoots across, gets into the South Korean side, where a North Korean guy runs across for just a little bit and then stops. And then the guy, the North Korean soldier who was escaping, he collapses on the other side, but he's on the South Korean side. Then 3 South Korean military people and I think one American, they crawl out, grab the guy, and drag him to say he's done. That was all he had left in him. And I want to tell you, I'd watch that over any football game. I was thinking about that with Colin Kaepernick, because this kid he's running for his very life. Forget Gale Sayers, forget Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders and Earl Campbell and all the other football players combined. That man ran for his life. Just while we're on the subject, I'd love to see football played where North Korean soldiers stood behind you and shot at you as you ran down to the other end of the end zone. Now, that would be a game. There is no kind of politics that would stop me from watching that. That's gladiator stuff right there. Man, you got to see. It was harrowing is not even the right word. This man is literally running for his life. He could have been killed going in the direction of freedom, but he was doggone Skippy going to be killed if he went back. And then you find out the price of freedom. The price of freedom. shot 5 times, he lost half his blood. They said in order to patch him up, they had to give him twice the amount of blood that was in his body. I want you to put yourself in a situation where you're running from your country to cross the border. Think about when you drive from, Missouri to Illinois. There's no demilitarized zone. There's nobody that even cares. Why should we care if a citizen, I'm not talking about illegally. Why should we care if a North Korean wants to go to the South? Who is it that should dictate that citizens of the world cannot legally go to another country as long as that country has no beef? In other words, the North Korean people have no beef with their South Korean brothers and sisters. They haven't been able to hang with them for a generation, but they have no beef with them. Why shouldn't they be able to go? Why shouldn't South Koreans be able to come and visit old family in the North? They have no real beef. It isn't like there's a travel ban because of terrorism. But so just imagine you want to go visit your family in Texas, and that's the way you would have to do it. Man, so he gets shot 5 times, loses half his blood. They have to give him 2 full, whatever the body holds in liters of blood. They had to give it to him twice over to keep him alive. They said he was extremely malnourished. I think they said the guy was 5'5" and 132 pounds. Now, he's a military guy. He's 5'5". He couldn't do anything about that unless maybe he should have been 6'3" if they'd fed him earlier in his life. But he's 5'5", 132 pounds in the North Korean military. Ask yourself, what drove him to the point where he said, that's it. I'm done. This is life or death. I'm done. Then they found 3 parasites in his intestinal system. This guy was more wormy than a dog that's been neglected in the streets of America. It was amazing this man was able to crawl to freedom, much less run to freedom, looking like the Asian version of Usain Bolt. I say, if you haven't seen the video, you'll see it. It's not sped up for our enjoyment. This dude is fast. I don't know how long he planned it, but he said, I'm getting a truck. I'm driving through the DMZ. I'm not looking back. It was crazy. Oh, man. His tenacity proves, folks, how the human spirit longs for freedom. You better know he will be stricken from the record in North Korea. They will not mention his name. I think his name is O. My bet is if you say anything close to O, you'll get executed. They don't want you to know that this dude exists. It's like the slaves, the freedmen back in the South during the days of Democrat oppression of black people. By the way, that still goes on. But in the real days of slavery, when Democrats fought their own brothers to keep black people as slaves, when a freedman showed up, they said, you got to go. They didn't want slaves to know there were black people out there who were free, who could go do what they want to do. You better know the North Korean government will pretend that man never existed because he got out. Man, I just think of everything that was going against him. Malnutrition with worms. And then he gets shot 5 times and he still said, you know what? I'm free. If you think he's going to die, I don't think that anything can kill this guy. Not right now. He's got to have at least a week of freedom, healthy, because he paid the price. This is a dude that said, I will not stand for this. And I want you to understand, when he finally got over across that border, boop, he collapsed. That was it. But God gave him the strength to get to that point. I think there's a reason for that. I see a bright future. If this man survives, and I think he will, I see a bright future for him. Talking to leftists, going to college campuses and explaining freedom and what he was willing to do. And talking to these kids and saying, you think you want what I just left? The human spirit What a commitment to freedom, the South Koreans and the U.S. soldier who pulled him out, pulled him to safety. They understood what he was doing. They understood he was running for his life, and they put theirs on the line to make sure he got one. What about them? That's a video I would love to show LeVar Ball. Isn't that his dad, or is that the player? I don't know. I'd like him to see that video, to see what his son may have been trying to do one day, escaping China. The South Korean government recognized those military soldiers that helped that kid get freed, as well as the American. Collapsed from his wounds, dragged to safety. You are all in the range of the North Korean fire, General Kim Byung-ju said. It was a precarious situation and a showcase of great leadership. The guy also had hepatitis B and tuberculosis. This is a military guy. That's how good they treat their military over there. Can you imagine what the citizens go through? It's unbelievable. I'm going to talk more about this in the next hour because I really want people to understand exactly what we're dealing with when a guy like Kaepernick and other football players take a knee and talk about the oppression of black folks in America. Shut up, you fools. It's amazing.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Tick-tock, you don't stop. Welcome back, everybody. The theme of our show today, the Kevin Jackson Radio Show, is tick-tock because the clock is ticking on your life. Glad you are here. I'm so happy you're here. We can fellowship together. It's post-Thanksgiving. We're going into a second holiday season where we can finally be grateful for something. We are coming out of the most thankful period of our adult lives where we don't have to face a leftist presidency, a Hillary Clinton presidency. We are putting an end to leftist terrorism. You got a lot to be thankful for. Even if you don't know it yet, even if you haven't found that ideal job, maybe you just got a job. Maybe you're close to getting a job. You know what? I pray that you get exactly out of life what you need right now because I believe God's hand is guiding. I don't believe it. I know he's guiding everything that's happening to us right now. We couldn't be in a better situation as Christian conservatives. And I don't need to say Christian in front of conservative because I know we are, unless you happen to be Jewish and you're Judeo-Christian conservative. We are in the best time of our lives to change things for the better. Tick-tock, what are you going to do? You going to wait the clock out? You going to run it out? Or are you going to get in the game? Give me the ball. I want in the game. We all have better things to do. We all could be pursuing nothing but be laser focused on what it is we want out of life. But you know what we're doing right now? We stop and we say it's not just about us. Because we're not selfish that way. We're saying we know what this is about. I'm not doing this just for my kids. I'm doing it for your kids. I would be selfish. Oh, I'm just do this for my kids. No, I'm doing it for everybody's children. What I do when I get up in the morning and face the scourge of leftism, the idiocy, the moronic views of leftists. I watched a man fight for freedom on a video during Thanksgiving while we all sat around eating turkey, enjoying each other's company one way or the other, hopefully tormenting leftists, having them eat crow, and you watch it and say, how's that taste? Well, whatever you were doing, I can guarantee you did not want to be that North Korean soldier fleeing to try to get to freedom on South Korea. What is it, the 57th parallel, 50, whatever it is? He crossed that DMZ zone, and he fought his way to freedom. I'm talking about life and limb, running. And with all the things that we're going through, when I watched that video and I saw how those North Korean soldiers had closed on him so quickly when he got out of that vehicle and started shooting at him, with 7.62 millimeter rounds that any one of them could have killed him, and he didn't die. He collapsed on the South Korean side. They had to stop. I watched the video of the North Korean soldier have to go back because if he'd gone any further, he would have been shot. He already violated international law by just crossing over a little bit. And I think about Otto Warmbier and what he must have endured, because a military man in North Korea had tuberculosis, hepatitis C, worms, and he was malnutritioned. That's how they treat the best of them. Can you imagine how they treat the worst? What happened to Otto Warmbier? We don't know. Barack Obama promised to bring him home. He didn't. Donald Trump brings home 3 black guys. And you know what they say? He's so full of himself. Look at what he's doing. He's bragging about what he did. The media should be more concerned about what Barack Obama didn't do. And they just witnessed a guy running across the border for his life. So you can only imagine what Warmbier went through. A kid who stole a flag or did something, innocuous, and Barack Obama couldn't get him back. What do you think would have happened if Donald Trump had been negotiating on behalf of Otto Warmbier? What do you think would have happened? You want to think that kid who escaped from North Korea would have tried that in the time of Barack Obama? I don't think he would. I think that kid said, enough is enough. I've had it. This is the time to do it. Donald Trump's president. Let's go where the United States government sits in waiting for me. Oh, you think it's the South Koreans that were the reason that he was able to do that? No, he did it because of us. See, we export the spirit of the warrior. That's what America used to export, and that's what we're back to exporting, the spirit of the warrior. That's why you're here. You don't want to listen to somebody who wants to talk about, I can see the other side of this with the liberals and the leftists and the progressives and the Democrats. I see nothing that those fools do is worthy of our conversation. You know what we've had for far too long, folks? Too much of them. And I'm done. There's no balance here. Somebody sent me a note and it said something along the lines, Kevin, I like your work, but I really want to see some balance and all this. And all that. I told him, you're in the wrong spot, brother. You're in the wrong spot for balance. How am I going to balance out somebody taking a knee to protest so-called black angst in America? Did you want to see oppression? You just witnessed oppression, or you heard me describe it when I told you about that North Korean soldier who was on God's wings. When our angel's wings, when he ran across that border, because man, that dude did not run like a guy who'd been shot. He ran like he was a full nutrition member of the North Korean sprint team. That's what he ran like. And then he ran for his life and collapsed where? On the other side, where he was in safety. Probably wounds that would have killed him otherwise, but he was running on adrenaline. And I believe God's got a purpose for him. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what his story means in the big picture. But I know what it means in the picture of Kevin Jackson's life. It means that I'm so happy to be have my DNA formed on terra firma in the United States. That I don't have to fight to escape some crazy regime. So what are we doing now? Why are we fighting now? Because I don't want to repeat that. I don't want to see any kid have to do that. Escaping America. Not my kids, not my grandkids, not yours, grandkids, great-grandkids, you name it. That's why we fight. I'd rather fight early and often than have to fight the big one. And because let me tell you, if we didn't do what we've done so far, we would have lost. Can you imagine where we would be sitting right now if we had another regime like Barack Obama, one of the most insane maniacs to ever have access to the button, to the football is what they call it? They say Trump's a maniac. Barack Obama, he's far worse. He gave the football, he gave the codes to our enemies. Talk to me about it. Anyway, I'm going to talk more about this guy, not next segment, but I want to talk more about this North Korean. There's a bigger issue here.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Kevin Jackson. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. We're talking about TikTok. TikTok on the NFL. How long until they finally get it? When does Roger Goodell finally say enough is enough? I hear Jerry Jones is going to sue the NFL because he's saying, you know what? We've had bad leadership. Roger Goodell is the Barack Obama of the NFL. You've watched the NFL since Goodell's inception become more politically correct, become more wussified, watered down the game, cost owners money, ruined the game for many people like myself. I don't watch football. And he's gotten a fat paycheck, and on the surface, he looks good. Roger Goodell's a good-looking guy. Seems to represent the NFL well. Hits all the notes. Oh, we love our veterans. We love this. We love that. Roger Goodell is a hack who's made more money than the top NFL players. And the owners have paid him. And Jerry Jones has said, you know what? I don't see where we've gotten our money's worth. Why are we paying this guy all this money? Why are we going to re-up a contract that pays Roger Goodell, I'll get it out, $50 million to leave per year, and all of his medical. That's the one thing that got me. I need my medical paid for the rest of my life for me and my entire family. What's what's the dude thinking? There's going to be a plague? What kind of contract is that? Here's what I'd like to know. I'd like to know a business that can pay somebody $50 million a year for the rest of their life and pay their medical costs for them and their family for the rest of their lives, and that business can absorb that. Now, see, when you talk about waste, I say that's waste. If they said, look, Roger, you did a good job, or his contract said, you know what, we're going to pay you $1 million a year for the rest of it. That's a lot of money. I'll put it to you this way. How many Americans do you think would take $1 million a year for the rest of their lives and just insurance for themselves? You know, that would cover the family, but not insurance for every part of the individual in my family for the rest of their lives. Like, in the event I divorce my wife, she still gets insurance. My kids, when they fall out from under my plan, they get their own insurance. I don't know what he negotiated, but why would you need that? And $1 million. I know people that would settle for $250,000 a year for the rest of their lives. They're called presidents. Those guys make $20,000 a month for the rest of their lives, $240,000 a year, if they need it. Now Congress is passing legislation against that. But you get what I'm saying. Why would you pay Roger Goodell $50 million a year? Where does that come from? Oh, Kevin, the NFL makes a lot of money. Then they're making too much money. I mean, I don't know what goods and services are being provided. Well, Kevin, they have sponsors. Then the sponsors are charging us too much money, or we're too foolish. Because let me tell you, whatever sponsors there are, Anheuser-Busch, Target, whatever things are running during the NFL, if you can pay a dude $50 million a year to do nothing, I want to know what the deal is. Because, see, the thing is if when Roger Goodell goes, they're going to have to put somebody in his place. Somebody competent. And if that competent person makes $20 million a year or whatever he makes, because Roger Goodell made more money than Tom Brady. The number one paid guy in the NFL, a player, Roger Goodell made more money. Hadn't won a Super Bowl. Anyway, during the Thanksgiving Day football game, somebody kneeled yet again. It was a member of the Giants. I did not watch it. I hope you did not either. I hope we can agree that that's not something we want to do. But he kneeled. And here's the thing about the kneelers. Even if one person kneels, it's going to impact the league. Because we're not stupid. The consumer of the sport is saying, we don't want any kneelers. There's not a person who's playing football who has a reason to kneel in the United States. If you wanted to kneel because you're a veteran and you're sleeping on the streets, I would support you. I'd say this flag is not representative of you. You've probably gone for help. If you're a veteran who's contemplating suicide because of PTSD and they won't get you help at the Veterans Administration, I'll support you kneeling. I'll kneel with you, brother, and we'll pray together. And then we'll go fight. And the first thing I'd do is I'd get with my brethren and sister and around me, and we would find you a place to live or something that would let you know we care. But I will not kneel for a bunch of pansy behind black entitled players who want the world to believe that they're oppressed. I won't kneel for that. No, sir. No way, no how. So all I'm looking at here, people, is these ratings. NFL, worst is Week 11 passes in the rearview mirror. League losing 1 million viewers over the numbers from 2016 as protests during the national anthem continue. One guy. You know who started all of this? You know his name, Colin Kaepernick. He started it. They said that it showed signs of slowing during Week 9s and Week 10, but the downward trend picked back up for Week 11 with a loss of 6.3% compared to last week's loss of 5.7%. So Week 12, Week 10, they lost 5.7%, but they said it had slowed over the weeks 9 and 10. Now it's picked back up. It's at 6.3% down. They say the 6.3% dip reflects a viewership of 14.9 million viewers, which is down 1 million from the 15.9 million earned in Week 11 last year. 15.9. Let me tell you something. When I was watching this show, it was the 80s, the decade of the 80s, and they talked about the final show of MASH. They talked about the final show of, what was it? Hill Street Blues, maybe? Anyway, the final show of Dallas. You remember the show Dallas? 76% share of the TV market. 76% share. That means of everybody watching TV, Dallas had a 76% of the viewing audience. That's crazy. TV ratings off nearly 20% for the season overall. Networks have reportedly lost up to $500 million in ad revenue. Sparse audience at stadiums. Can I give you a high five through the radio? Hand up. Pop. Congratulations, people. Keurig pulled their ads from Sean Hannity, and within a couple of days, they were apologizing. We're sorry. NFL. Gonna stick to their guns, huh? They think we really love the sport. We can't get enough of the NFL. What are we going to possibly do if we don't have the NFL? Let me tell you something. Don't you dare go on your cable TV station channels and start looking for things that capture your interest. I don't know how many of what is it, the show where they do the houses in Waco I've watched, but I love Joanna Gaines. She could do my house anytime. We'll be back.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com. We're listening to the clock tick. And I'm asking you, tick-tock on your life. Marshawn Lynch went to Mexico, played a football game there, took a knee during an American national anthem and stood for the Mexican national anthem, Thanksgiving Day. What are your thoughts? You happy about that? Marshawn Lynch is protesting being a black American while he's in Mexico, honoring the Mexican national anthem and disrespecting ours, disrespecting the very people who gave him that opportunity. What would this guy be doing without football? He'd be a dishwasher. He'd be a street thug. He wouldn't be washing dishes. He'd be a street thug. I don't know much about him, but I don't need to know much about him. He told me all about him when he took a knee in a foreign country. Embarrassed the United States, embarrassed himself, embarrassed his team, embarrassed his teammates, embarrassed his coach, embarrassed everybody. But you know what? I don't take it personally. Because I know there are people out there who are willing to die for freedom. They would trade for Marshawn Lynch. They would trade for a fraction of his life. You want to know where they are? In the very place where he was in Mexico. There are people who looked at him and said, "Are you out of your mind? You're disrespecting the American flag, standing for hours, and we want out of here." I tell you what, black folks, if you're listening to the program and you're a leftist, you want out? There's a Mexican that wants in, I guarantee you. Where else do you think they want in? All of Africa wants in. You can't name a country that we don't have somebody from Africa living in the United States thankful to God that they're here and not there. You want to live in the Middle East? I joked with friends of mine over the holidays, some sassy women folk. I said, "Hey, we're going to banish you guys to the Middle East. You'll come back correct." Their husbands laughed, of course, joking. Wouldn't banish good conservative women, but you do get what I'm saying. There are places in this world you don't want to be. And there's a song, you never know what you got until it's gone. Well, let me tell you something. Marshawn Lynch, I'd love for you to live in Mexico without your football salary. Let's see how well you fare. I still think about that Korean soldier. Dramatic scene unfolded 4 p.m. on November the 13th. Tensions among 3 countries had soared. The United States, South Korea, Team 1, the North Koreans. Kim Jong-un has his nuclear bombing underground facility fall in and kill a bunch of people. But he's still a threat, right? He still wants to threaten. Fat boy North Korean. Calls Donald Trump a crazy old man. That kind of thing. So we got tensions high. DMZ, whatever the parallel is, out there. And suddenly we have a situation where a North Korean soldier takes his vehicle, blows through the checkpoint, tries to drive across into South Korea, gets close enough and puts his faith in the good Lord that he probably can't even pray to. And God saw fit to deliver him into the hands of the South Koreans, and he survived. And I talked earlier in the broadcast about how he survived. 5 gunshots. He collapses on the South Korean side of the joint security area, the only place where the North and South Koreans directly face each other. 2 soldiers from the Joint Command then crawled to the man while others in the unit monitored what was happening. They see this playing out, and they understand what he's doing. They understand the gravity of this situation, and these guys spring into action. He's being fired upon, and he makes his... I swear, you got to see this video. This dude is running for his life, and he's running fast. I'm trying to think of a situation where I did something like, I don't want to call it superhuman, but like you did something like, how did I do that? And I can't recall. I know there's been at least 2 in my life where I was like, wow, how did I, like that, like God intervened, or your muscles move fit faster than you even thought you could move, that kind of thing. Well, let me tell you, I watched the video of this guy, and I dare Usain Bolt for them to overlap Usain Bolt at the fastest point in his race. And you put it next to this little Korean dude. He was flying. It was like he was lifted on the winds of a hurricane. Man, it was something to see. So he ends up on the south side. And he's been shot 5 times. He's got intestinal worms. He's got tuberculosis. He's got Hep C. And there were people that crawled to him, not knowing anything about him, and they rescued him, putting themselves in harm's way. For the record, think about this. If he had been able to just walk across the border between North Korea and South Korea as an illegal immigrant, he would have been bringing that with him. Now, we obviously show special dispensation to this guy because he's escaping for his life. He goes back, he's dead, and you saw what they were trying to do. You don't end up with 5 bullet holes because they want to just, capture you. So he's in the hospital. He's got all these things wrong with him. And this is all because he wanted freedom. And I think back on these stupid football players, and I think to myself, I'd love to trade one of you. I'd love to trade Marshawn Lynch for this guy. I'd love to trade Colin Kaepernick or any of the other players that feel like they need to take a knee or raise a fist in defiance of America. Otto Warmbier, I bet he would have traded if he were alive. Frat boy prank landed him in North Korean prison, and he was sentenced to 15 years of hard labor. He spent the better part of a year there. Barack Obama couldn't get him out. President Trump got him out only so he could die on American soil. Some people might say, what's the big deal? The symbolism of it is a big deal. One president left the man behind. Said he wouldn't, and he did. One president left 4 people to die in Benghazi. I defy any leftist to tell me what they think Donald Trump would have done if we had people stuck in at a it's not a consulate, a consulate office, whatever, in Benghazi, and what Donald Trump would have done. They wouldn't have had to make a movie called 13 Hours. I can bet you that. So some leftist tweeted something along the lines of, so what? North Korea is a crappy country. So is America. And I don't see a difference. And one of my friends tweeted, the fact that you can say that in America is the difference. Because you couldn't say it in North Korea and not end up in prison doing hard time. And I've already told you, how many people treat their military to where the dude's got Hep C, he's got tuberculosis, worms in his belly, 3 different types of worms. Not just one, like he's got a fluke worm or a hookworm. He's got 3 different types of worms, and he's malnutritioned. And that's the best of them. You think that army is ready to go against us? I mean, come on. Think for yourselves for just a minute here. Leftists? I'm not talking to my conservatives. I'm talking to the lefties. 132-pound, underweight, malnourished guy. On the road to recovery, but he's still tormented by the nightmares of being shipped back to that cruel regime. Waking up to nightmares. Forget Hep C and tuberculosis and the bugs that are crawling around inside of him. He doesn't want to go back. That's his biggest fear. Don't feed me. Don't give me water. Don't send me back. If I want to die, let me die here. I don't think he's going to die. Anyway, the border guards that were protecting this guy, do you even want to put a guess as to what's going to happen to these guys? They've been replaced. They fortified the section of the border where this guy escaped. Unbelievable. They dug a deeper trench. They put up trees or something to where you can't drive through it, or barriers and what have you. Shoveling a deep trench, they said. Had soldiers standing guard over it. It's unbelievable. The ambassador to Korea, his name is Mark Napper, said they showed these guys digging the trench, and they knew it was North Korean, what they call them, JSA guards. Failure is not tolerated. Public embarrassment on a global scale is what happened to North Korea. So what do you think is going to happen to all the guys who allowed this to happen? That guy that, even though the guy blasted through that, through that checkpoint, all the guards, everybody that let him get away, that fired a shot at him, these guys are dog food now. They're lucky if they get to go to prison. Not San Quentin, not Leavenworth. North Korean prisons, like Auschwitz. But there's not going to be a Patton that's going to ride to the rescue and save them. And I want to, maybe Kaepernick could have saved them, huh?
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Michael, I was reminded of this tweet from the Virginia. I mean, the president has his theme. He talks about tough on crime or weak on crime. Meanwhile, we should note his former campaign manager has been indicted on 12 counts along with his associate. Right. The president doesn't seem that upset about those alleged crimes. But the president said this during the Virginia race: Ed Gillespie will turn the really bad Virginia economy numbers around. Okay, fine. And fast. Second sentence is strong on crime, comma, he might even save our great statue's heritage. Seems like there's a lot of subtext there.
Yeah, except the text ain't so sub. I mean, the reality is that it's a pretext in a context for bigotry here. This is a president who rises every morning to excrete the feces of his moral depravity into a nation that he's turned into his psychic commode. Here's a guy who doesn't understand the difference between right and wrong fundamentally, and who doesn't care. So for him, race trumps everything. And in this case, sending these dog whistles out there, suggesting that the statues are part of our heritage, and it's a false argument. When people say these statues are part of our heritage, yes, but your heritage is bigotry. The Civil War was not fought in regard to race and slavery. It was fought for states' rights. The states' right to do what? Own slaves. Right. So this is a manipulation of history. Gore Vidal said we live in the United States of amnesia. Donald Trump is one of the greatest amnesiacs alive, and yet he's able to join amnesia and nostalgia for a way of life that passed long ago that now the white supremacists are trying to revive, and Donald Trump is their greatest champion, and they get extra points. They give extra points to him because he doesn't quite explicitly say it. He just signifies. He's in the realm of inference, and in being in the realm of inference means you can have plausible deniability. Right. What do you mean? That's not what I was saying. Well, I didn't mean that at all.
Welcome back, everybody. Michael Eric Dyson. Woo! Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. This is a fool that teaches your kids in college. And I love how Chris Hayes, I think is this guy's name, he sets it up by saying his campaign manager was indicted. Yes, campaign manager was indicted, but who was his campaign manager before he was indicted? He was a co-conspirator with Podesta and Hillary Clinton. And he says Ed Gillespie will turn a Virginia economy around, but and he mentions the great statue's heritage in a tweet, Donald Trump. And that's what sets off Michael Eric Dyson and MSNBC to go on this racist tirade of Donald Trump. All he cares about is race, blah, 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 blah. Michael Eric Dyson is an interesting guy in the sense that if you notice his style, he already has something to say at the beginning. And he screwed it up. He couldn't even get the line out. Donald Trump rises every morning to the feces. Donald Trump rises every morning to excrete the feces of his moral depravity into a nation that has turned into his psychic commode. So let me repeat it without going through it like that, because I can do it better than he can. But he says that Donald Trump rises every morning to excrete the feces of his moral depravity into a nation that he's turned into his psychic commode. Now, this is a guy who they bring on TV to expound on commentary, and that's what he says. Donald Trump rises every morning to excrete the feces of his moral depravity into a nation that he's turned into his psychic commode. What the heck does that even mean? He says, for Donald Trump, race trumps everything. This is a race baiter. A guy who that's all he talks about is race. He can't talk to you about issues. If you just said, look, Michael Eric Dyson, we're going to have a conversation, and the conversation will strictly be about the issues unrelated to race, Michael Eric Dyson could not say a word. See, that's the difference. I remember, I tell you guys this story quite often, but a radio guy says to me one time, Kevin, are you going to be able to talk about things other than race during radio? His actual comment was, if Obama is not reelected and Romney is elected, could you have a radio show? And I was like, really? I was like, dude, race issues are going to be around before I die, long after I'm dead. You'll still be talking about racism. Believe me, I'm going to do everything I can to stop that. But you're going to be talking about race and politics for a long time, unless somebody decides to back a guy like me with enough coin where I can put a dent in it, where I can go around to college and say, hey, when are you people going to wake up? Because let me tell you what's happening here. You will emasculate young white men for some amount of time, but essentially you're empowering them. People don't understand what I mean when I say that comment. See, young black men, we were emasculated. We were made to feel small. And many of us became fearless warriors like myself, fighting for virtue. When you get white kids who finally say, I don't give a crap about what you think, and they've got parents, and and even their parents are starting to learn, you're going to watch these guys roar back and say, that's enough. I'm done with this nonsense. See, that's the way I thought as a kid. I was like, man, you guys want to look at young blacks and criticize us? I'll show you. But there weren't enough of us because there was a system that stepped into play that said, you're stupid. Hey, blah, blah, blah. You don't have any parents. Look at you. We're going to send you to substandard schools. White kids have parents. White kids are not going to substandard schools. Eventually, they're going to wake up. The indoctrination system will have them for a little bit, but then the world's going to hit them in the face. The world doesn't hit young blacks in the face. They still are on welfare. Their lives haven't changed dramatically. They don't have even with little white kids, so what? Parents are very liberal and let them get away. Eventually, they're going to get an inheritance. They're going to get some property. They're going to get something that has meaning to them, and the switch is going to flip, click, and they're going to be mad as heck. There's nothing to flip a switch for a black kid. He doesn't have a support system that says, hey, They've been screwing you over all this time. So the only people who are there people like me out there going, well, as much as I don't really need any more childrens, I'll adopt them and I'll explain to them how things are not working out the way they want. And I'll take on as many as I can. But they're not all going to switch over. But if I adopt these white kids, they'll switch over. They'll go, hey, I don't know my real daddy, but my black daddy, Kevin, man, he told me so-and-so. And I don't feel that way anymore. And, I'm no longer a snowflake. What you call me a cupcake? They will fight back. Anyway, back to this fool, Michael Eric Dyson. He's a race pimp. And then he says, these statues are not part of our heritage. Well, they are part of our heritage, yes, but our heritage, it's a heritage of bigotry. Okay, Michael Eric Dyson, where's that bigotry originate? That bigotry where the Civil War was fought over states' rights. What was it fought over? It was fought because the Republican Party, the anti-slavery party, said, we're sick of these leftists trying to take credit for blacks as part of their economy and part of who they are, when in fact that would be like counting cattle. And so aside from the very inhumane act of slavery, you also want to profit from it. And Michael Eric Dyson, oh, it's so stupid Republic. Michael Eric Dyson and all of his ilk, they vote for the very oppressors that they claim that they fight against. The heritage that is part of the bigotry that he describes is his heritage. He's taken ownership. It's the same rationale that says, let me build a shrine for a thug named Michael Brown or a thug named Anthony Lamar Smith. Or let me put a statue up for Marion Barry, a crackhead mayor who accomplished nothing. That's the logic. The same logic that says Snoop Dogg should be more influential in the black community than Clarence Thomas. I could pick anybody. That's the rationale. And they want you to buy into it. He says that we're in a state of amnesia. And he quotes, I don't know, Carl Sagan. I don't know who he quoted. But what's funny when people quote other folks, it's like this gives validity to what I'm about to say. The state of amnesia, and he says Donald Trump wants to join amnesia to nostalgia. And he doesn't do it outright. Michael Eric Dyson says no, he doesn't do it outright. He's too smart for that. Yeah, the dumbest president ever, right? That's who they say Trump is. Too smart for that. No, he does it in the realm of inference. So Donald Trump just infers. When he talks about our glorious past, whether you like it or not, it is our past. To Michael Eric Dyson, that is a reference. He calls it a dog whistle. It is a dog whistle to the white slavery, the white supremacist mentality. These are the people teaching your kids. I want to keep that fresh in your brain. These people are crazy, folks. And if you allow this, if you continue to allow this, you're going to get the nation you don't want. And I'm going to do my best to stop it.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's a Kevin Jackson Show. Tick-tock. I don't have to tell you what that is, right? That's a clock. That clock is ticking on every single one of us. And that's been the theme of the show today. The fact that the clock is ticking. Every day we wake up, we fight a battle. And we can waste our time or we can spend our time on things that we want to do in pursuit of something bigger, something better. And right now, we're wasting time. And the reason why we're wasting time is we don't nip things in the bud. I've complained about this with the Republican Party for the better part of a decade, saying, why do you guys not go to the source of the issue? People are lying about the Republican Party and what it has done in the history of this country. Democrats have usurped what the Republican Party did in freeing blacks and have taken it over and carry the mantle of being the party of freedom for black people, when it's quite the opposite. Not only did Democrats enslave blacks back in the middle 1800s and prior, they continue to. And the way they do it today is much more ruthless and much more sinister, because it's buried in all of their legislation and the things that they do. They pretend to help. And it's a shame that we allow it to happen, because if we didn't, we would be so much better off as human beings and citizens of the United States, because we wouldn't be fighting this daily scourge of moronism. Is that the word I want to use? I mean, we fight lunatics every single day over nonsensical issues. It floors me what we end up talking about. I want to talk about a message from Kathy, a lady that met me at an anniversary party in Hermann, Missouri. And she listens to me on another show that I'm a guest on every week. And she writes, "This is my gripe for blacks. Where is the outrage by the black community for the depiction of blacks as violent, ignorant, immoral, father-denying males, immoral, stupid, slovenly, crude females on all of these talk shows and judge shows? Why is Black Lives Matter, the NAACP, and others who want to discuss race all the time not in a rage about that?" And she's exactly right. Go look at one of these talk shows and you see the craziest. The reason why when people talk about a dude having 12, kids by 7 different women, and they're talking about Ray Ray, is because that's what's depicted. That same thing happens in the white community, not to maybe to the extent of blacks, but we talk about it in the black community because we see these crazy women who go on TV and it's, "You are not the father. You are not the father." They'll bring 6 guys in to determine paternity over 1 child. Or they'll have 3 children and it turns out that the dude is not the father of any of them. I mean, these are the shows we have. So, Kathy, you nailed it. And this is the outrage that I discuss all the time. These are the things that drive me crazy in the black community because I don't want my kids thought of that way. By the way, they're nowhere close. And to be honest with you, I don't think about what is happening in the black community in the sense of, well, Kevin, if you get pulled over by a cop, you're going to have the same thing. I get it. And so I comply, I behave, I show decorum, I show respect for the police. And that's my small way of helping. Because in the big scheme of things, what am I, one guy, going to do to change that other than what I'm already doing? So I can do no more. I can only do what I'm doing here to make people understand that I don't think that way, and then I live it. I live my behavior. Practice what I preach, I guess would be the best way to put it. So what's wrong, with the world when we can't get other people to understand that, actions speak louder than words? Remember, I was telling you guys, we did a show on truisms. Actions speak louder than words. And so I get up every morning, and let me tell you, my biggest frustration in life is I want to enjoy it. Now, the only way I've been able to enjoy life, I mean, I'm not talking about, kids and family and things like this. I'm talking about outside of that. How do you explore your inner you? What do you want to do? I mean, unless you like living vicariously through the National Geographic Channel or something, don't you want to go live life instead of watching it? I know I do. So if the idea for me is to go and hike the Himalayas, then I don't want to watch it. I want to go do it. But you can't do it if you're spending all your time trying to save humanity. Now, I'm not trying to put it all on my shoulders. I mean, there are many others fighting the good fight. But we've got to what I'm trying to get you guys to understand is that when we collectively pool our resources, do the Vulcan mind meld, and we all put our information, our stuff together, we become strong enough to where we can push back the scourge of leftism, progressivism, to the point where life can continue in a normal fashion. I don't want to spend the next whatever number of years the good Lord's giving me to wake up every day fighting nonsense, going against the grain of, well, I mean, I'm happy to go against the grain of these idiots, but I'm saying I want to flow with something that makes sense. I want to flow with a nation that understands that the wealth should be in the hands of its populace, not in the hands of bureaucrats, not in the hands of a very powerful few who are trying to pull the levers of things and have no concern for fellow man. Look, if you go out and you earn your wealth and you decide you're going to go out, you know, you're going to have businesses and help people with charities and with your charitable efforts and things like that, congratulations. But if you're a George Soros who is just manipulating world governments, I don't understand you. It drives me crazy. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about today. Obamacare's in the news. And they've shifted the subject away from the important things over the weekend. And, you know, John Conyers, Hillary Clinton's tied to the Russians, Obama's complicit nature with them, the DNC, Podesta, and a host of other things. They aren't talking about this amazing economy and things like this because they're wanting to shift the subject away. They want us talking about petty issues like Piegate for Sarah Sanders. I'm not discussing Piegate. Did she really make the pie? Was she trying to poison it? Well, I don't even know what the subject was about. I just thought, this is crazy. There are too many other things we need to be talking about, and we will.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here, KJRadio.com. My book is Race Pimping. Get it at racepimping.com. And if you want to have the show anytime you want, KJRadio.com. So I mentioned the depiction of blacks from a message I got from Kathy. It says, ask the question, where's the outrage of the black community by the depiction of blacks as violent, ignorant, immoral, father-denying males, and women as immoral, stupid, slovenly, crude females on all the talk shows and the, quote, judge shows. And I would turn that back on to Kathy and say, Kathy, aren't you outraged at the depiction of whites? And she might say to me, well, Kevin, how are whites depicted? And I go, well, you know, they certainly don't I mean, there's some of that on the shows and things like that. She mentioned, by the way, MC Hammer coming out from the fireplace to do a commercial. And it's an interesting way to look at MC Hammer, is that, it's a very bad depiction of him. But he's Hammer Time, and the commercial is don't hammer the nail into the mantle. Use this Scotch, this 3M product or whatever. I've used them in my house, not because MC Hammer's there, but because I'm renting a place and I don't want to put nail holes in the wall that I got to fix later. But I understand the correlation between Hammer Time and that. So I don't like, to me, that wasn't the right one. But the lady who does the Popeyes commercial, that might be one. Ooh, love me some Popeyes.
I just found out or just realized that I love Popeyes chicken. Not because I'm black, but because of the new spokesperson. That chick make you just want to eat chicken all day. You know what I'm talking about? Why when you sell chicken and you always got to change your voice in the commercial? It's always like, girl, you gonna love my chicken. With 11 herbs and spices at a low price of $4.99, you gonna love my chicken, girl. And I know she didn't audition with that voice. She probably went to a nice acting school. She tried to read it her way. It was like, read this Popeyes commercial. She was like, girl, you're gonna love my chicken. With 11 herbs and spices at a low price of $4.99, you're really gonna love my chicken, girl. They was like, we ain't gonna sell no chicken with that voice. You got one more chance, girl. You gonna love my chicken. You do it. You gonna love my chicken, girl. With a low price, all the numbers gotta go. Low price of $4.99. With a low price of $4.99, you gonna love my chicken, girl.
Welcome back. So, we as comedians, you depict this stuff. You see, you observe these things, and you make note of it and you make fun of it. And that's why I love comedy, because you can find these things that don't make sense, and you say, okay, I'm going to make some fun of this. But I want to go back to what I was saying to Kathy and others, whites. How are whites depicted? Yes, we don't do chicken commercials. People don't do chicken commercials for white folks like that. And so I think people understand that, but there's still a depiction of white people that's going on right now, and people just dismiss it. It's like, okay, you're depicted as money hungry, step over anybody to get ahead, especially minorities, and I could go on. Is this a true depiction of whites? Let me ask Kathy the question this way, and I'm not picking on her, because she was right to ask, Kevin, where's the outrage of blacks? But I would say, where's the outrage of white folks? I'm not here to try to sound like, what's the black dude that Dave Chappelle did? I forget his name, but I'm not here to be the spokesperson for white people, but you people are being beat up, beat down, completely discriminated against, and all of it for the sake of some leftist that wants to feel like they're helping black people by beating up on white folks. And I'm going, where's y'all's outrage? Where's the outrage where people talk about white privilege and white this or white that? The average person, white person that I know, is not a person of privilege, unless, and I've jokingly said in a tongue-in-cheek way, unless whole families are privileged. Because that's the one thing where white folks certainly have it over black people, is having a daddy in the home. But outside of the things that let's face it, black people can control you. What black women can find the right men and have men in their families, have fathers in their children's lives. They choose not to do it. How's that a white person's problem? And by the way, if it is a white person's problem, let me tell you whose white problem it is. It's a white enabling progressive leftist Democrats who've done that. So if you want to blame somebody, don't blame Reagan. Don't blame Trump. Don't blame you and me. But I am asking this question of whites because Tucker Carlson noted something that's in the Chinese community, if you will, and the Chinese get it. See, they're observational people. They're not stupid. And there's this thing called baizu that they say in Mandarin, and it's essentially white left. And I want to play this clip and let Tucker explain baizu. And maybe this will help Kathy answer this question for herself.
Well, the Chinese have a new insult you often see in online political arguments between Mandarin speakers. The word is Whoobazoo. Its literal translation is white left. According to political scientist Chen Zhang, who wrote about the term in a recent Open Democracy piece, members of the white left are, in the view of the Chinese, quote, biased, elitist, ignorant of social reality, and constantly applying double standards. They only care about topics like immigration, minorities, LGBT, and the environment, and have, quote, no sense of real problems in the real world. They're people obsessed with political correctness to the extent they, quote, tolerate backward Islamic values for the sake of multiculturalism. And on top of that, they say, the white left, quote, pity the rest of the world and think they are saviors. Sounds like the Chinese are watching pretty carefully. The term first became popular 2 years ago to describe Angela Merkel and her decision to welcome more than 1 million third world immigrants to Europe. Chinese students and job seekers complained they had to work very hard to stay in Europe, while unskilled migrants could simply show up, claim asylum, and get welfare. Chinese immigrants to the U.S., meanwhile, see themselves penalized by affirmative action and wonder why they're paying the price for historic wrongs that other people committed, which is not a crazy question, by the way. One Chinese internet user described the white left as, quote, a spiritual epidemic that will destroy the West and destroy China, too, if it were foolish enough to follow their lead. As Donald Trump once noted to the Chinese, they're laughing at us. He may have been more right than he knew.
There you have it, folks. So, Whoobazoo, white left, the Chinese, very observational people. All the styles of kung fu that they studied by looking at the praying mantis and the tiger and the monkey, drunk monkey, etc. And so they are observing what's happening in the West, what's happening all over Europe. And they're saying to themselves, that's idiotic. They know it. It goes against human nature. It's sad when communists are able to look at your culture and go, they even realize you're headed in the wrong direction. Why? Because they get it. They understand where they are. The Chinese government understands that unless it embraces some mixture that involves the capitalist system, they can't survive. That's why there's a thriving, I shouldn't say thriving, but a growing Chinese middle class. I live there. So for those of you who think I'm just speaking out of, turn, I've lived there. There's a growing middle class that can get bigger if they embrace our cultural ideals and not leftism.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It's a Kevin Jackson Show. Back from Thanksgiving. Woo! Hey, do you think the left rested during Thanksgiving? Do you think they went like, we've been so hard on these conservatives and Donald Trump. Let's all take a moment and just give thanks. Thanks for such an amazing America. Thanks, that we're still alive. Do you think they stopped for a moment to smell the roses or to at least put their partisan politics on hold and said, let's just leave things alone? Do you think they did it? Of course they didn't. Let me tell you something. These people, the leftists, the Democrats, the progressives, whatever they call themselves, the moronic scoundrels that they are, the brain-dead liberal idiots, these people have scandals on top of scandals. They now say they have a deeper Manafort ties to Russia, for example. And one of the things I saw is they said he took more flights than originally thought. That's what they were talking about over Thanksgiving. And I'm thinking to myself, sort of like the flights they found out that Bill Clinton took more of going to Sex Island with Jeffrey Epstein than he had originally admitted. When they got the flight records, the dude was over. He might as well had built a house on Sex Island. Why are you just going to visit, Bill? Why don't you just call it? Why don't you build the presidential library there, for goodness sakes? And Manafort, who's got ties to Russia, has no ties to Russia during his time on the Trump campaign. His ties to Russia all date back to Hillary Clinton and Podesta, etc. We touched on it a little bit earlier. But the left goes, oh no, there's still those ties to Russia. Where is it? I tell you what, wait till Mueller's finished and let's see who comes out vindicated. Are you fearful? Are you fearful of the outcome of what happens when Mueller finally ends this investigation? Let me tell you, I have not an ounce of fear of what's going to be the outcome of this. I already can tell you, Democrats will be pilloried, and some of them are probably going to end up in prison. You know what they're trying to figure out right now with this whole investigation of Russia is who needs to go down. They've called up the scapegoat farm, and they're saying, where can we pin the blame where it has the least damage to the Republicans, and it's going to impact somebody's life the least that we can recycle later on. They'll probably try to blame it on Weiner because he's already in prison. Y'all think I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. My producers are like, guys, I'm telling you, he's going to blame that. They're going to get people that are already on the fence. They're already there. They're already close. Don't be surprised if they blame Blagojevich, the old Chicago mayor, because that's what they do. All this stalling tactic is not because Manafort doesn't know who's guilty. The Democrats are in a cabal, and they're saying, who has to go down for this? Why do you think you haven't heard anything from James Comey, Susan Rice, many others, Huma Abedin? These are people going, I'm not going to take the blame, not me, no way, no how. I got too much money. They're all in there. And you know what they're doing? They've all got black book. They've all got black book on each other. They all know the malfeasance that goes on in government. And if you are in government and you don't have black book, you are the most vulnerable person in D.C. So what they're doing is they're saying, how much does Huma know? How do you think Huma Abedin can stay out of trouble? Be honest. She has to have enough information on Hillary to stay alive and to be able to broker against other people. Because Huma Abedin is undeniably guilty. She's complicit in everything that Hillary Clinton's done. So how can she escape what she's done? She's got black book. She's got all the information on Hillary. She's got all the information on Bill, and she knows every single person who's done what. And you better know, if that chick has an ounce of brain matter in her head, she has covered her butt. She's watched these people. And trust me, the connections to the Muslim Brotherhood and all that, that's what's kept that woman alive. Ask yourself, who would Hillary kill? Her consigliere. See, if there was one person who is going to go, who has to go, it's Huma. But Huma is the safest person on the planet because she's smart enough. Think about what they found on Weiner's hard drives. He's the one in prison, not her. Think about this. Now, Kevin, he's in prison because of the pedophile. I mean, his, sending these texts. No, he's in prison because he's one of the scapegoats where they can get away with this. Don't be surprised if they pin this thing on somebody like a Weiner. I don't know who it'll be. So the Democrats didn't rest over Thanksgiving. They were plotting. They're toast. They are toast. There were 3 or 4 times during the campaign Hillary Clinton was toast and they kind of got her out of it. But the entire time I told you guys, I said, Donald Trump will win the presidency. You doubted me, but I told you he would. Because I wasn't looking at what they were telling me. I was looking at what was underneath what they were telling me. And what I'm telling you right now is, forget what you're seeing. They are scrambling. They don't know whether they want to bring down Podesta. Trust me, both Podesta brothers are in big trouble. And those guys have to be concerned about how much black book they have. Whoever has the smallest black book goes down. Anyway, let's segue. What else are we not talking about? Because we're talking about a stupid pie that was baked over Thanksgiving. We're not talking about Al Franken's defense. Al Franken's defense is the second time he admits that he had done some wrong. He apologized again.
Al Franken apologizing once again for sexual misconduct, saying he crossed a line but still won't step down. Instead, the Minnesota senator vowing to regain the voters' trust. It comes after 2 more women came forward accusing Franken of inappropriate touching. The Star Tribune reports the Democrat calls himself a, quote, warm person who likes to hug people.
I love that clip. Sounds like a chess move. Yeah, I love to hug people. Not chest move. Chess move. I think Franken hugs lower. You know, a lot of people come in for the shoulder hug. Not Franken. He dips down and hugs a woman. Puts his head right in her belly button and hugs their butt. Oh, my goodness. I guess it's less intimidating when you stoop down before a woman and you bow down, you put your head in their belly button and you grab their butts, maybe. You know, we have the hug that's called the shug, you know, where you shake and hug at the same time, brothers. So we'll call this the Franken or something. Right? I mean, the Frankenstein. Don't Frankenstein me. Oh, man. Frankenstein. You know, it's funny to watch these. You get to see the duplicitous nature of leftism. Because Saturday Night Live, the women of Saturday Night Live said, we forgive Al Franken. He's not a bad guy, blah, blah, blah. And they come to his defense. And it's a very simple litmus test, folks. What would they say if it were Trump? What would they have said? Just put Trump's name wherever you've got Al Franken, wherever you've got John Conyers. Donald Trump gets undressed with his underwear and invites people into the Oval Office. And there are people, I think Geraldo said, well, John Conyers, you know, he's a really old man and, you know, that's the way he got dressed. I'll tell you this, in Geraldo's defense and possibly Conyers' defense in this respect, my grandfather, he didn't care. I mean, if he's in his underwear, he's dressed. He didn't look at it as, oh, I'm in my underwear, I'm naked. He looked at it as, I'm in my underwear, you know, I'm putting on my shirt. I've watched my grandfather, you know, in his underwear, putting on his shirt and getting his tie ready for the occasional time he went to church. And he didn't think anything of it. And to be honest with you, even if a woman had walked in, he's in his underwear and his socks. He always had black socks on, his underwear and his socks. And as long as he was buttoning up his shirt, you know, whatever, he didn't look at it as I'm naked, and he didn't turn around and cover up his crotch or whatever. He didn't look at that as like I'm being lewd or anything. Now, he didn't publicly go out and do it, but if he, like, let's say he's in his office and he's getting dressed and his secretary said, you know, Madam So-and-so is here to see you, he'd go, send her in. I'm just telling you what my grandfather would do. And to be honest with you, if I was getting dressed and, you know, and they were like, Madam So-and-so's here to see you, President Jackson, I'd say, well, send her in. And I'd keep getting dressed. Okay, go ahead, Margaret, have a seat. I'd keep, you know, I wouldn't be, hold on a minute, let me put on my pants. If I'm getting in my underwear, you've seen far worse, Margaret. I'm rather sexy, too. Admit it, boys. In fact, I'm doing the show right now in my underwear. Oh, man. Hugging women by the butt. You know, look, and these people that just, I don't know what the thing is about grabbing women by, what is the pleasure of grabbing women by the butt? You know, if you're taking a picture with them, there's no pleasure in that. I mean, other than to say I can do it, and, you know, it's my power move, I can get away with it. Seriously. And so George H.W. Bush supposedly does that kind of thing. Who knows? Old man, I guess.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. I'm glad you're here. Oh, my goodness. So we talked a lot today, well, about everything to be thankful for in Thanksgiving. It's obviously after Thanksgiving. We've got a fresh new week. We head into the holiday season. And I always, this time of year, I get nostalgic, but I don't get nostalgic over things. I get nostalgic because I look at the year in review and I ask myself, did I give it my all? What could I have done better? What should I have focused on? And so on and so forth. And I'll be honest with you, over the past 9 years, almost 9 years that I've been doing this, I don't look back and regret the effort that I have put into it. I regret the idea that I have to put that kind of effort in, if that makes sense. But it's all for the cause of freedom. And we talked a lot today because I called today's show TikTok, meaning we all have this clock ticking. It's ticking inside of your own mind. And I listen to my 10-year-old. He talks about life. And it's funny, like he'll say things like, well, when I die, when I'm old and when I die. And I think about when I was his age, I will never forget asking myself how old I would be at the year 2000. And it seems so far off. And now we're 17 years beyond, almost 18 years beyond that date. And, I'm getting old. I actually pulled a muscle playing basketball the other day. Made me mad. I tweaked it earlier, but I pulled it doing nothing. It was routine. Getting old. Hadn't pulled that muscle. I think I can count on my 2 fingers how many times I pulled a calf muscle, but I did. I pulled a calf muscle. So, we're getting older, but the idea that we should be enjoying life as opposed to, fighting life. And leftists want us in chaos. They want us fighting life. But we do this. We fight hard. We get up every day and we fight hard because of one word: freedom. And when I keep thinking about this North Korean guy who escaped and got freedom in South Korea, and what must have been going through his mind as that was happening. North Korea lost one heck of a person, because the mindset it took for him to say, I've had enough. I tell people this, and I was watching with one of my friends. He came in from St. Louis, and we were watching The Godfather. And I said to him, I don't know if you could make these kind of movies with me. Because if you were the kind of guy who ran, the city, and you were, mean-spirited and taking money from people and, just a bad guy, I'd see you out one day and I'd just go shoot you. And I wouldn't think 2 seconds about it. I wouldn't think about, I'm going to go to jail. Now, and I don't want people thinking, Kevin, you're just a mean-spirited guy. No, I'm saying if you're a heinous criminal, how these guys will sit around the coffee table or whatever, and they'll have their henchmen, and, they're at a restaurant, and whatever it is. And people know, that's the guy that runs the mafioso family, blah, blah, blah. And if he's, wreaking havoc in my neighborhood, I would have no qualms on taking the dude out. None. You couldn't make a movie like that. And honestly, I figure everybody's that way. But you know what? It's not the case. There are people who will know you're a bad guy, like in the black neighborhood. They'll know that's the dude, man. He'll shoot you for no reason. And then they'll be like, hey, man, what's up? And I think to myself, if that guy will shoot you for no reason, he's a menace. So maybe I'm just a vigilante that goes, we can't have that kind of person walking around. You want to know why? Because he interrupts your freedom. You want safety. You don't want to feel like you get up and you have to be on alert for that guy, and you don't even know what's the reason that's going to make him want to do something bad to you. That is a loss of your freedom. And let me tell you something, folks. You're getting up every day and you're living in a world exactly like that. Leftists who want to take away your freedom. And I watched that little North Korean dude, 5'5", 132 pounds, with tuberculosis, hepatitis C, malnutritioned, with 3 kinds of worms in his stomach, jet across that DMZ and to freedom with 5 bullets in him. And I think to myself, would you fight for freedom like that? Is it worth that to you, to where you would go through that, you would endure that? And let me tell you something. I don't know anything about that man, except his name is O. And when he escaped, I was like, oh, because that dude, man, he booked it across the line. I talked about it earlier. I don't need to cover it again, but he booked it. And so I think about, he woke up, 5 bullets in him, tape, all kinds of worms, hep C, blah, blah, blah. And he woke up to freedom. And his biggest fear was being sent back. And they assured him, you're not going back. So I can only believe that God has a purpose for him, and that he had to be thinking, oh, thank you, Lord. But what was funny, not funny, sad, when he got to South Korea, he completely collapsed. It was like he had enough energy, enough gusto to get across. Now, I feel sorry for North Korea, because a guy with that kind of chutzpah to do that is an amazing guy. He's somebody you want running businesses and things like this. Now, where would he have gone back to? He would have gone back to North Korean prison life. There's a camp they call Camp 22. It closed in 2012 after somebody defected. But extreme human rights violations occurred there, including torture, of course, forced labor, human medical experiments. So we're talking Nazi type stuff. And I'm alluded to the idea that this isn't, take the worst prison in America, a San Quentin, a Rahway, whatever. And it's nothing compared to these types of camps, of prisons. These are Auschwitz. These are places where you are at the whim of a madman. Families of inmates who are viewed as guilty by association are also sent to these camps. So if Kim Jong-un doesn't like Kevin Jackson, he can say, put his whole family into prison. And he does this because he wants that family to completely reject you, your family to reject you. He wants nobody who will, as I said, walk up to him. I mean, he's a public guy. Anybody in the military could end it. It's some low-level corporal could just say, pow, and that's it. And I'm telling you, the mentality that for somebody to not do that, that's the thing I'm more curious about. Why is there not one person in North Korea who can witness the suffering of their people and say, you know what, I can end this right now? Deprived of food, forced to eat rats and frogs to survive, cramped cells infested with lice, regular beatings, potential fatal torture. These are the norms in these prisons. Forget hard labor, pulling plows across the field 12 hours a day. Why? Because they don't have any animals. 200,000 victims estimated of Kim Jong-un's despotic rule. Utter wretched lives in these internment camps, and the left looks the other way. You have leftists tweeting things like, America's like North Korea. Just the nerve of one of these leftists to say that. Camps are patrolled by guards. They've got automatic weapons, hand grenades. They've got dogs all around them. Prisoners routinely deprived of water, food. Torture includes things like sleep deprivation, beatings, kicking, slapping, enforced sitting or standing for hours. You've seen, what's that movie Angelina Jolie made with when they got the Japanese internment camps? Asians know how to torture, man. Inmates allowed one set of clothes. They live and die in rags without soap, socks, underclothes, or sanitary napkins. Yeah. So this is what Kaepernick says is his oppression. I'd like you to compare it to that. By the way, the Citizen of the Year is who I'm talking about here, Colin Kaepernick. They want to badmouth America, particularly during our celebration, our independence on Thanksgiving. On that day, a man sought refuge in a country where people live free. And I'm willing to bet that North Korean will exchange places with Kaepernick or these other oppressed blacks. But none of these people will fight as hard to leave the freedom that veterans have fought to maintain.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.